Hello there, it's Claire here from My Creative Spirit with a how to make to share with you today. It's my little notebook kit. We've been running a lot of workshops making this little notebook and they've gone really, really well. And I've had loads and loads of requests for a video on how to make them. So we start off with the notepad kit, the A6 notepad cover kit. And after a few really simple steps, you end up with a fab little notebook that make great books for your handbag or great gifts. I know I got mine out of, this is my original, my handbag, and my mother-in-law absolutely loved it. So she's got a couple for her birthday. They're really simple to make, and you can use any of the techniques that you really like to create fun covers. We're going to use the Distress Oxide inks. There are lots of videos I know out there on how to use them, but I've just used one colour on here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I've used the Jofi 049 plate. I love the poppies. I saw it and thought, oh yeah, I can use that. So I'm going to use that stamp plate to create the fun cover. And so and my black construction tape as well. So the first thing we're going to do is take the covers and the spine out of the kit and start to put them together. So with the black tape, I'm just going to edge two short and one long side on each of the covers with the black tape. It's a great construction tape. I use it for building all of my kits, and it's great for edging and putting your album covers together as well. So I've gone all the way around, rolling, just holding the tape on the cover, and then the nice thing about the tape is you can rip it. So I'm just ripping it at the end, but I'm not pinching the corners. And I'm going to take my scissors, snip into the corner, lift one side up, poke one underneath, just diagonally cut the corner off and stick it down, and then you get a really nice mitered corner. So snip into the corner, lift one side up, stick the underneath side down and press flat, and then flip over and do the same on the other side. If you get in a right angle and everything gets stuck, you can just snip the corners off together. Pinch it and snip it. But I quite like this method, so let's go again. Halfway on, half on, half off. Press to get a nice neat stick on that edge of the MDF. Lift up, hold the tape while you roll it to the other end. Press down and pinch between the corners but not quite up to them, and then rip it at the last end, press down, and then snip into the corners one by one. And snip. Get rid of these little black bits. And snip the last one. This one's got a bit stuck. Lift him up and snip off. So those are the two covers edged. So it's an alternative to painting as well. You could paint your cover edges, but the tape gives them a nice finish and just covers the MDF. So the next thing to do is to attach the spine to the covers. So I'm going to take a strip of tape an inch longer than the spine and stick it over the holes in the centre and rip, and then put that down, sticky side up, take one of the covers, align it up, so I'm lining up the side edges, holding them together and lifting and rolling them, squiggling them before I flip them over, and then I'm just going to press on the wood to stick the tape down, and then stretch the tape out so you get a double gap, and then bring these ends up and over, and then just cover that gap in the middle. Snip the ends off, press them down. The secret is not to have the tape right up to the end so that the ends of the tape get hidden inside the book. And then you can take a ruler or just your thumb and just run it in between the gutter, between the two pieces, just to push the tape into the space. And then we're going to do the same again. So flip over. So this is the right side. Take tape an inch longer than the spine length. So I've just joined the tape, I've sort of met it in the middle. Flip over, stick your side up, take the last cover, line it up, squiggle it just to get the tape to stick to the edges of the MDF, open it out and pull it, and then pick the tails up and stick them down. And then the last piece of tape just covers that last MDF in the middle. And then I'm just going to trim that end back. Press it down and then stand it up and press the covers under the spine. And that just gives a really nice, neat finish to the book. And then I'm going to take an awl, and if I just rub my fingers over the tape on the outside, I can see where the holes are, so I can repunch them. And then I'm going to do the same from the inside. Stick my tape. And the last thing to do before we start to put the pages in, is to put a strip of double-sided tape in between those holes on the outside of the book. And snip. I'm just going to leave the sticky on for a minute. And let me talk you through the signatures. So if you take 20 sheets of copy paper, printer paper, so I've used 80 GSM, it's just my standard printer paper, but you can get 90 GSM and 100 GSM. So if you wanted a thicker book, you could use thicker copy paper or any paper. If you wanted to make a little watercolour book, you could use watercolour paper. You just have to work out how many signatures or how many pieces in each of the signatures. A signature is a set of folded papers, and I've taken 20 sheets of copy paper and cut them in half. So they were like that. I've cut them in half and then folded them in half again. And the covers have been designed to fit that size of paper, A6. So I've got 4 signatures of 10 papers, all folded. And then you want to punch your holes in the papers. So what I've done is cut a piece of black card, the same length as the paper, and I've put it up against the spine in the book and centered it because the pages are slightly shorter than the length of the book, and then used my awl to punch 2 holes to match the holes on the spine. So I've gone through the card twice to give me a guide. And that guide I've used on the pages. So I've opened them up, put the guide in the middle, lined it up with the edge, made sure that the pages are all creased and folded, and then used the awl just to punch the holes through. I always go from the inside outwards, keeping my fingers well out of the way. And the hole is there. There it is. So I've done that with all 4 signatures. So they've all got holes in the spine. So now I'm ready to sew. So I've used Gutermann's linen thread. Let's turn it up this way. It's not waxed, it's just very strong. It won't rip. And I've used a large tapestry needle. One, I needed something that had a big eye in it so I could see to thread it, but also it gives you something to hold on to. Thinner needles tend to bend as you're threading your signatures through, and the secret is not to get your cotton knotted. Mine has got knotted, so let's try and unknot it. So the length of cotton should be, let's see if I can just unknot this. I think that piece is too short. So let's not use those. Let's use this piece. You're going to add 4 signatures. So the signatures, the gaps between the holes determine the length of cotton you need. So you want, this is double, so if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 and do 2 extra just for good measure and then double it, that will be more than enough cotton for you to be able to sew your book. Mine has got in a right tangle. Maybe we should be using waxed cotton. I don't know, let's cut it and start again. Get rid of that. So I'm going to go, actually I'm going to go the length of the page. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then double, 2 extra, 6, and double it. And cut. And then I know I've got enough. And then I'm going to just thread the needle. And then just pull the ends together. But don't tie a knot. There's no knot, no knot required. Just find the ends. Okay, so hold the ends together. Find your needle. And now's the time to take that backing tape off the double-sided tape. So I'm going to push, this is from the outside, I'm going to push the needle through the hole and pull the cotton all the way through until I get to the ends that I'm holding in my fingers. And those ends I'm just going to stick down, so I'm going to stick about 1 inch onto that double-sided tape. And the tape's strong enough to hold the cotton, and then I can start sewing. So this is my take on an easy to sew little book. So I'm going to take 1 set of signatures, and from the outside I'm going to thread the needle through, pull the cotton through, and then take it back through the other hole and down through the hole in the spine. Let's get caught around everything. And pull it really tight so that the signature is sitting right up by the spine. Now you can tell by holding your book up that way that you've got it nice and tight. And then while I'm putting the string or the cotton tight, I'm going to stick it down onto that double-sided tape, and that will hold the signature in place. And then I'm holding the signature flat towards the back of the book. I'm taking the needle and threading it through again so it comes through above the first signature. Pull the cotton through, make sure you've got no loops on the outside. And then take your second signature come through from the outside, back through the other hole, and then back down the hole. Let's just pull the cotton through. Back down the hole on the spine to the outside of the book. Pull it tight again. So pull the cotton nice and tight. Again, make sure that your signature is sitting up, right up against the spine of your book. And while you're pulling tight, stick the cotton down on the tape. And that will hold it. And then press down so the signatures are flat towards the bottom of the book. And come through the top of the hole again. So you're literally stitching round in a circle. It's the easiest stitched book you could make. Signature number 3, through the hole, pull tight, back through the hole and down through the spine. Pull it nice and tight. Stick your cotton down on the tape on the spine. And now we're going to go through from the last time. So I'm just going to push those down and tilt the spine, come through with the needle. It will just poke through over the top of that third signature. Pull it tight, and then let's stitch the last one in. So through the hole, back through the other hole, and down through the spine. So let's pull that through. Oops. Let's pull it tight. And then the last hole is quite tricky to push through. So the needle sort of almost goes vertically through it. And then pull it nice and tight and stick it down on the tape. Just check that all your signatures are sitting nice and tightly up against the spine. And then you can cut the cotton. Ooh, you say. And then we take a piece of tape, just long enough to cover the cotton, and with the book closed like that, press the tape onto the spine, and then I'm just going to open one side out as I want the tape to sit in that gap between the covers, and then the same on the other side. You don't want to stick it flat because it needs to work into the gap so the book opens nicely. And that way you can't see the tape on the spine and your cottons can't come undone. So that's our little book all made and ready to decorate. So how easy was that? Now, the next stage is to cut the papers. So cut your papers for the inside and outside, following the instructions if you're following along and making one yourself. So we've got black for the inside and white card for the outside. Let me just show you on my first little book. I did do inked papers for the inside, but some of the ink came off on the paper, so I decided to do black inners, but the sizes are exactly the same for the front and the inside. So if you wanted to decorate the inside with your inks and stamps, then do. So let's get inking. So I'm going to use the Peel Paint Distress Oxide ink. The more ink you use and the more layers you put on, the darker the colour goes. This one, I think I've just done 2 layers. This one, I've really sort of blotched it and created more layers. So the background is darker. So it's entirely up to you if you're going to make a book yourself. So let's show you how I did it. I've taken the large pieces of card. So we've got the spine, we've got the front and back cover, and also the patch that sits on the front. And just using the words from the stamp set, I've just stamped with Versamark black ink, or VersaFine black ink, and then put some embossing powder over it and heat set the words. And I've done the same with the panel. I've just heat embossed the whole pattern of the leaves and the swirly bits. The leaves are going to get covered over, but the swirly bits will show through the ink because that will act as a resist. So those are prepped. And then I've also stamped out 2 stalks from the stamp set. So 2 of the stalks here that I want to use, and then just a single set of the leaves. And all of these I want to go green. So I might end up just colouring those with a distress pen, but I'm going to start off by inking them with the Oxide ink. So let's get the ink down. So you need some water, a heat gun, and your ink pad. So the first thing to do is to put a really generous swipe of the Oxide ink down on your craft mat and spray it with water. Now again, the more water you add, the lighter it goes. So I'm going to start off by putting quite a bit of water on. I'm going to start the heat gun going because I'm going to dry as I go. So I'm going to smoosh this into the ink, and you can see it starts to work its way around the picture or the stamped image. And I'm just going to sort of tilt it so that I don't get any harsh edges of ink, and then heat it. And of course, as it starts to dry, you get those fabulous patches coming through of the pigment ink and the distress ink. And then I'm going to smoosh it again. So now you start to get more of the layers building up. And I'm going to squiggle it around. Just being careful not to hit myself. So you can have great fun creating lots and lots of patterns on your background and adding more spots. I love the green. Green's my favourite colour, so it's always my go-to whenever I start doing anything new or trying something out. And green and the poppies I thought worked really well. So I'm just going to re-smooch the corner. I'm just going to blotch those patches. So I quite like that piece. So stop when you've got to where you think you like what you've done. And we're going to start with the next piece. So I'm going to keep the heat gun going. I'm going to put some more ink down through the middle. Some more water. I'm going to smooch the spine. So I'm using, my white card is 260 GSM. It's hammered card actually on one side and plain flat on the other. Now I quite like that because it's a thick card and it absorbs the colour really easily without distorting the card. So it's not a watercolour card, it is just a hammered card. So I'm going to heat that one. And as I'm heating it, I'm just going to smooch it in the puddles just to build up more blotches. I do love how this comes through, how the pigment ink creates those chalky patches. And it's quite mottled. There is still ink on the mat, so I'm just going to add a bit more water and pick that ink up. So you can be as random as you like with this. There's no art to it, you just create. And create lovely background pieces. So let's just flatten it out. I like to leave my pieces to dry as well, completely before putting them on the book. So I know they've gone a bit raised, but they will be fine. Okay, so let's smooch again. Put some more water on. And this is the other front piece with the wording on. So I'm just going to twist it in there. Lift it up. So that's sort of done one cover, one coat in one go. Let's just let it roll about. Now this piece is going to have another piece over the top. So I'm not too worried about building up lots of layers on here. I like these bits. I'm going to tilt it so that the green runs down from the edge. You do get a bit covered in green paint or ink, but it does come off. So that one I like the side. But you can carry on adding and building up until you're happy with what you've got. So the last little bits I wanted to do were the leaves and the stalks. So I'm going to put lots of ink down again, a little bit of water, press those in. I wanted them to be quite dark. And then the leaves. Smooch them first. Dry them off. I like the dimension of building up stamped images on top of images, and cutting them out, sort of decoupaging them. I'm going to pop some more ink down, last lot of ink there. Just a little bit of water. Let's see if it can go a bit darker. Yeah, those will be fine. That's it. We are done. So we've got all of our pieces ready to build up into the book. Now, I did glaze these. I quite like the glazed look. Excuse me. So this one, I decided to glaze when it was on the book, when I put the papers on the book. And of course, it went a bit lumpy bumpy. I quite like the look, but it wasn't as, it didn't stay as flat as glazing your papers first and then putting them onto your book. So if you want to do that, Mod Podge or Decopatch or matte medium is perfect. So let's do that. So I've just got Mod Podge. I use it for everything, and one of the Tim Holtz Distress brushes. And I'm just going to put some glaze onto the brush, and then I'm just going to brush it one way. And you can see the difference actually. The colours of the inks change. You still get the mottled look, but you lose the real chalky look. And so you may not want to do this. You see the difference. So the greens really come out, but the chalky, the sort of bluey greens disappear. But I quite like that. Maybe I'm going to go both ways. See it changing. So give them a good coat. To try and keep them on the mat. Let's just do the spine. And then I'm going to pick that up. Do the whole of this piece. This is the panel for the front. And then the leaves, which is left on there. And the stalks. And then I'm going to leave those to dry for about 20 minutes. It doesn't take long, but I just want them to be completely dry before I stick them onto the book. So now all of my pieces are dry, I can start to put them into the book. So I'm going to do the inside pieces first and get those out of the way. So I've put double-sided tape around all of the edges and just stripped down the middle. And I'm just going to position and stick that to the inside cover. And then the same at the back. And now we can start on the outside. I just wanted to show you this one. This was the yellow Distress ink, Distress Oxide ink, and it's got lovely brown patches in it. I really like that. So it's just another colourway. And then I've added some leaves at the back and then just the little elements from the stamp set as well. And treasure gold as well. If you want to put gilding wax or treasure gold around the edges of your book, it works really, really well on the tape. So now back to the little book. So I've finished all my pieces off. They're all dry. I've edged them. You could edge with your Distress inks before you glaze. Once you glaze, nothing really wants to stick to the top of it. So if you want to edge your pieces, do that with your brown inks or whatever before you put the glaze on. I've just gone round with frayed burlap distress pen and just taken the white edge off my pieces. So now we're ready to stick everything together. So the spine, I'm going to put the spine on first, and I've put 2 strips of double-sided tape on the spine. They do overlap, but you can get you backing off. And I'm just going to hold the book up, press the covers together so that I could see exactly where the spine is, and then I can centre and stick this piece in place, hopefully. And then press it down really firmly. You can't really glue this on, it needs to be taped so that the tape really holds firm over the cotton. So the spine is on, and then I'm just going to press it down at the sides just so the tape sticks firm. So spine's on, so now we can put the cover in place. So I've already put tape all the way around the edges and a couple of strips down the centre as well on this piece. This is 6mm red line tape. Let's just move those over there. So I can centre that and stick it in place. Hopefully I've got it straight. I'm using the eyeball technique. That always makes me laugh. And then if you've got any little white edges showing, you can always take a distress pen and just run it around the edge once your paper is in place, just to remove any white edges. They never look good on a black background. And then, now the nice thing about the tape on the black tape is, if you've put your piece on upside down, which I did because I wanted my words to go that way, you can lift it up and reposition it really easily. And it will stick back down perfectly. So now we can put this piece on. I'm doing it the Australian way. Then I'm just going to offset this towards the left of the book. And stick it down. And then, because it blends in, I'm going to take, I've just got a black biro. I'm not sure that the Micron pen, this is the Archival Ink Micron pen. Let's see if that works. Oh yeah. So I'm just going to run it around the piece, just to sort of give it an edge so that it lifts it. It seems to be disappearing into the glaze, so I might just use the biro. But you could use anything, any pen that you have. Let's go around with the biro. I can't find my Pilot pen. The biro is quite good. Just be careful when you get to the corners, you don't fly off the edge. Just have a neat join at the corner. I've got a bobble, so maybe I just put various bobbly lines across the top to make it look like a happy accident, and 2 different sizes, and then it'll look completely random. Like it was supposed to be there. I could go all the way around and do it, but I'm not going to, just across the top. But you can do whatever you like. And then let's put the back on. This one can go any which way. If you want to put some tacky glue in between your tape strips, then do. Press it down. I like to press it down with my nails, and then I know I've got a really good edge, flat edge. Ta-da! So now we are ready for leaves and stalks. So I've cut my stalks out, and I did go over them with the frayed burlap distress pen, just to give them a slightly darker look. And I'm just sort of going to work out where I want. I think I want one poppy over there, and then one towards the top, like that. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off this one. And these are going to go on just with tacky glue. So I've inked the edges, and I'm just going to use, I bet it won't come out now. Just a little bit of tacky glue. Smooch it on so that it's flat. And then I'm going to curve it slightly, so I'm going to come over that way. Press it down. And then this one I want to be slightly shorter, so it's going to come over there. So I'm just going to trim that little bit off the end. This is just my Pounder Pot Hobbycraft tacky glue. I'll put the link to it below in the description. Gone really quiet, I'm concentrating. So those are on, and I'm just going to highlight up the side of the stalks with the pen, just to give them a bit more definition. And just in between the curlies. Like that. Make sure that's stuck down, and then touch that up. So now the leaves, I've cut the leaves out so that I cut inside the lines, so that when they get stuck on, you can still see the black outline that I stamped on this panel. So let's just work out which leaf goes where. And that's that one. And that's that one. I'm just going to hold that one on and just cut off that bottom edge. And then they can be stuck down. So I'm just going to shape them slightly before sticking them down so that they're slightly raised. So I'm going to put the glue towards the edge of the curvy, they're not petals, but the curvy bits. And then just press them down at the edges so that they stick, so it's not completely flat. I'll have to keep going back and just sort of pressing them down while the glue takes. And jiggle it around. Press them at the edges. You can push the sides together as well to raise them when you're holding the edges down. And the last one. It's got very quiet, hasn't it? And let's get him in place. And then I'm just going to push the edges just to raise slightly. There. So leaves are on, and that just leaves the poppies. So what I did with the poppies is I stamped them onto the white card, and I took the mini ink pad, this is Candied Apple, and smooshed it straight on the top. It was the only way to get really dark red. If I coloured them with pens, or I could have coloured them with Copics or Pro Markers, but if I use my blending tool from the ink pad, I didn't get that deep red colour. So I just took the pad straight to the card and just smooshed it over the top. And then I just need to cut these out. So I'm just going to quickly cut them out. So I'm cutting just outside the black lines so that you get the whole stamped image. I don't know, do you move your scissors and keep your card still, or do you move your card and keep your scissors still? That's always a question I get asked, and actually I think I do. I do everything. I move everything. These are tonic scissors. These are my fussy cutting scissors, and I absolutely love them. I've got, I don't know how many pairs of them, but I think we all find a pair of scissors that we feel really comfortable with, and I'm always amazed when I see ladies in the classes cutting out small things with huge scissors. I can't do that. I have to have little scissors and be really close to what I'm cutting out. There we go. Last little bit. And then I'm just going to go around the edge from the back just to get rid of the white edge of the card. But also I'm going to put some, this is Vintage Photo ink, just on the bottom area of the poppy, just to give it a sort of darker look. It's only a hint, but it does make a difference. And let's turn over, move these out of the way. And then another thing I like to do with the poppies is take the back of my scissors and just very gently, you could use a large ball tool, you could use the back or the end of a pen or a pencil. I quite like to use the scissors and just shape the poppy so that it's not flat. You see it lifting. I'm just not using a lot of pressure because I don't want to crease the paper, but it does just give the poppy just a little bit of a shape. It keeps moving about there, doesn't it? You could do this on foam if you don't want to do it on your hand. So it just lifts them, and then I'm just going to fold the top pieces back. And then I'm going to put a couple of foam pads underneath, she says, just underneath the middle of the poppy heads. And again, that would just keep them raised. Let's do three 3 on that one. No, I don't want it to stick to me, I want it to stick to the puppy. Let's take the backs off. And then I'm going to glue around the edge. Again, I'll have to keep coming back to this just to push it down. Put a little bit of glue on the foam pads as well. And put it where I want it. So these top pieces I can stick down, but I will just need to keep coming back and just holding these edges down just while the glue takes. And I like that, it just gives that flower some dimension. It's not completely flat. So let's do the other one. You see it's popping up again, pesky poppy. And then this one's going to come in just down here. It did take a little while for these to, oh, it was this one. This is the raised one, for this one to stick down. You could always put bubble wrap underneath, just a couple of bubbles from bubble wrap, and then it will always be raised, won't it? And then the last thing I did was I just took a white Sharpie. This one is the extra fine, and I just need to test that it's going to work. Let's test it on this before I start. I don't want it to blob everywhere. And just put some random little dots. It just lifts the whole thing. Let's put a couple over there. I could put a couple down there. The secret is knowing when to stop. That's it. I've stopped. I'm not going to do any more. So that's it. That is how to make my little A6 notepad, just using your inks and stamps and copy paper, and then you've got a fab little notebook that's totally unique, or a great gift idea if you want to make some to give away at fairs or Christmas presents or birthdays or stocking fillers. So many possibilities. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope I wasn't too rambly. Don't forget to give me the thumbs up if you've enjoyed watching, and subscribe to my channel to be kept up to date with new projects as they come out. Thanks for watching.